wasit.com.
I'm going to cover a subject today, well, two in one, and I'll explain why. It's altogether. Oh, hang on. I'm just I've got one of these weird army type belts, and everything's, if you don't tie everything, pull everything tight, it seems to drop down. Anyway, let's see if that's better. I've got an attachment to my belt and it's rattling in the background. It's probably picking up, but now I've tightened it, I'm hoping it doesn't rattle as much. Anyway, I can hear it rattling. It didn't the other day. Anyway, this is one that probably, if you're in the UK, you've probably seen it. It's about this, I've talked about it before briefly. The chap who, the elderly chap, he was in his house with his elderly wife. I think she's disabled, and some bloke, well, two blokes by the sounds of it, broke in, weaponed up, and in a struggle, one of the burglars, I believe his name's Richard, got stabbed. Now, let's make this, sorry, what's that paper pass? Hi. Someone just passing there. Right, so just to get this in perspective, on one side, after a few days, yeah, it's sad somebody's lost their life, and I accept that. Sad for anybody, especially somebody who's fairly young. But on the other, we have to take responsibility for our actions. Nobody forced this guy to be criminal, and yes, he's got kids and family, but by the sounds of it, what the papers report on, it's not just him, it's his family. And I'm sorry, but if you've got kids, you should be going out to work. This guy, when you read what the papers are saying, it's quite bad. It's not the nicest of people. I think there might be some suggestion he does drugs or did drugs or something, I'm not sure. I don't really want to read about him or his vile family. Now, well, there we go, just walking the dogs, you see, getting told off for not walking fast enough. Now, one of the things that's been reported is that it's a travelling community, well, or gypsies, or whatever you want. I always prefer the word gypsies because I think it sounds nicer. And before you go on, I don't know who came out with the fact it's a little bugbear of mine is when people say you can't use words because it offends. Well, I think gypsy sounds much nicer than traveller. It sounds more positive and all that. And whoever the police is, because I had this argument when I was a student nurse, someone gave me a list of words we could and could not use, and I said to the nurse who gave me it, who decided, you know, you've given me like a full A4, hundreds of words, who's decided what's politically correct and what isn't? And she couldn't tell me, and that's the thing, no one questions where these words come from. It's just someone says it and it's accepted. You know, I could say, I don't know, dog is now an offensive word, it's degrading to dogs, and I'll come up with a newer word, and then I'll go on Twitter and tell everyone anyone uses the word dogs derogative and all that rubbish. And I bet after a while people start believing it, and then anyone who uses the word dog will be branded a swine and whatnot. Whenever you get told what words you can and can't use, question who's told you. It's a bit like I was born in Zambia and I was told I couldn't use the word third world country, and I said, considering I'm from Zambia, and if I chose to describe the country I was born in as third world, which I wouldn't, but it was just a sort of example, why would someone who's white, English, middle class have the right to tell me who isn't from here what to say about my own country? See what I mean? Embarrassed a few people, that did. Probably why I didn't last too long being a student nurse. Didn't like me questioning things. It's a bit like a lot of things, people don't like it if you question because it can embarrass things. The status quo is keep it simple, go with the flow, and if you question things it upsets people, they don't like it. especially if they feel that they're in the right and they're politically correct, and to suggest to them that their politically correctness could actually be not politically correct does shock a few. Anyway, let's go back to this case. We've got a situation now where this guy Richard, I believe his name is, has his so-called friends and family putting flowers up on this wall where he got stabbed or died or something. Now, people are taking the flowers down, quite rightly, because in real, the reason they're putting these flowers up is simply to intimidate people. It's a disgrace. I mean, if you're a family, if you had a member who's a criminal, I don't think you'd be celebrating it, you'd be embarrassed. It's called pride and shame, you know what I mean? Now, some have been saying that the race is taking them down because this family class themselves as travellers. Nah, sorry. You see, the problem there is, the moment your family, considering the whole lot seem to be involved in crime, you're no longer a traveller or a gypsy. You can't claim that. You can't be proud and stand up and claim these things. You're just some scumbag criminal family. No different to any other. You don't have anything like that. But you see, the problem here is there are travellers or gypsies or whichever you wish to class them as, who are decent. You know, I don't understand here, because I've been reading the posts on newspapers where people are saying jippos and all this scum, blah blah blah, don't blame. But you see, this is trouble. You now got a situation where people are just sitting quiet in the travelling community, and they always do this. This is what irritates me, because the decent people will get the grief. You know, decent travellers who work hard, do whatever, and there are quite a few. People won't want them in the area. I mean, I wouldn't now, and I would say I was liberal. I mean, I've always defended people's rights to be travellers, but I'm now going, well, you know, at this stage I'm thinking, well, I never hear, and I never have done since I was a child, any traveller completely condemn the scum in their society. They seem to back themselves up. Well, this is the trouble. I think maybe it could be because they fear that if they condemn them, they'll all be seen as scumbags. But the trouble is, all that's happened is the scum have made themselves look like the majority. I don't know if they are. I don't know what the figures are. But I mean, I think it's going to cause a lot of problems now for the travelling community. This family, I don't think they realise it. I mean, they're sat there. I've seen the pictures in their horrible, filthy, sweaty, disgusting clothes. You know, look like jogging clothes. You know, that horrible look, grey, and they even had the traditional cig in their mouth. I mean, it looked absolutely vile. Sticking these flowers up. Now, if you want to mourn, you've got a grave, blah blah blah. You don't start. You see, I think people in that community, that street, will be terrified to go out. People getting death threats from them, and what the police doing, sat just watching, just in case anything kicks off. Well, it's about time the police actually said no, or the council said no. You know, I'm sure they can put in some emergency law, one of these little bylaws that they can usually flick out in seconds, to say no, we won't have these flowers here, and to ban this family for even being in the street. I mean, it's just harassment. And by the way, the bloke, poor bloke, this elderly guy, who was put in a prison for 2 days for no reason, because from what I read, they're not even charging him now. So absolutely pointless, probably because the police knew it would look bad for them. I mean, a lot of these times when, oh, hang on, I'm back again. I keep getting, it's a bit embarrassing when you walk past people. I put it on pause. They think you're talking to yourself, or perhaps on the phone, but you're talking loudly. People give you strange looks or giggles. Anyway, the problem is with a lot of these things is the police seem to, I mean, this is my presumption, what I see in the news, everything's based on popularity of what the police think will look good for them. it gets a bit, and I think the police thought, oh, we'll better look PC by arresting this bloke. But reality is people getting fed up, let's face it, of feeling vulnerable. And again, we have a London mayor saying don't carry knives, there's no reason to. Well, this guy actually, this pensioner had a weapon on him, don't forget. That weapon protected him. He could be alive now because of it. I mean, the other guy that ran off, I mean, who's protecting him? I mean, it sounds like they burnt out the van. Makes you wonder if it's his own community. You see, I mean, it'll be shocking if he's found within the travel community. It'll be the last time I ever said back up the travel community. I mean, I've always been saying it in my liberal way, because I keep putting my liberal hat on and saying that people should, you know, should live and let live. But even me, I'm getting, even my liberal hat is getting a bit worn out there, and that's the problem. I mean, if I'm saying I can't blame other people who aren't as liberal as me to be as liberal, if you see what I mean. You just can't. Hang on, we're just walking past the road here. Anyway, that's the point there basically is that this family are not doing nothing but harassing people. I mean, they're not celebrating somebody's life or death by putting the flowers there. It's just clearly to upset the locals. But this goes on to my second point, and it's just a general one, is what is the point of putting these flowers out anyway for anything? I don't just mean the death of this criminal. I mean, like, such as someone dies, say, in a car. Well, let's put it this way: if I'm driving along or walking along, and next to me on the road I see some flowers, they mean nothing, do they? I mean, I don't know why they're there. One presumes it's because someone's died, but again, you don't know what the reason is. Is it because someone's been run over as they cross the road? Is it because I'm just waiting for the dog to catch up. Is it because someone's crashed the car? Has somebody been run over on the bike? That's the point. You don't know. I mean, for instance, I know near me, you might have seen, I won't go into it because it might upset the families, but there was a tree, some scumbag stole a car, smashed the car into a tree and killed the passengers. Now, the car was stolen, and I think the kid was underage or something. I forget. It's a few months ago. But there were flowers there. Now, this wasn't because somebody had been run over or anything. It was because they actually committed an offence. They could have killed somebody in reality. I mean, this is what I keep pointing out. When anyone ever said, oh, it's sad, I say, well, could have been your kids that could have run over. And I bet they wouldn't have stopped, they'd have cleared off. You know, why are you getting upset? Sorry. They had the choice. Again, one of the things I always come back to is responsibility. It's something people never seem to want to do. They want to pass the buck. No one says, oh, you're responsible. No, you're not. Everyone keeps saying it's someone else's fault. Well, it's not. We have to go back to keep giving people responsibilities for their own decisions. If you get in and steal a car, you're responsible. If you kill yourself, that's your responsibility. It's not someone else's. Your age has nothing to do with it. You thought it was a giggle. I don't care if you're an adult or 15 or whatever. It honestly doesn't matter. There's things in life where you must take responsibility. That's part of society. Telling people they've no responsibility is a disgrace. Anyway, let's go back to my point being, because I'm going off track. The thing about these flowers is, let's say I die tomorrow and I was run over, and next day lots of people threw some, they're normally quite horrible looking flowers, usually bought for £1 or £2, where I'm being crashed. Well, within a few days they look murky, they're rotting away, they look horrible, it looks a mess. It just makes the place look unsightly. The second point is, who does it benefit? I'm dead, and in life I wouldn't have wanted the flowers, so in death I'm certainly not going to want them. Perhaps my friends and family, well, I can't say why it would actually benefit them, chucking a load of scummy flowers on the path. I mean, I actually don't, I mean, I find it really odd people go to graveyards, to be honest. I mean, people stand there next to some cold stone or a bit of a plaque for no reason at all. I mean, it baffles me. I mean, these people are supposed to call themselves Christians often. So if you think if you believed in afterlife, surely they wouldn't think that they'd be still 6 foot under in the soil, being the little heaven. So they don't need to go to a graveyard. It never makes sense. And they always put dead flowers, well, cut flowers. I mean, the moment you cut flowers, they're dead. It's horrible. I could understand people putting a tree that lives on, and that's something nice, and people appreciate. But putting scummy flowers are. And then the other thing that's a trend now is seeing these benches everywhere. They're quite ugly, not very nice. Most people don't really use them, they're just left to rot. I mean, when it started it was quite nice. I used to see the odd one or two and you used to think, oh, it's quite nice that. But then there's parks where I go where there used to be just 1 or 2, and literally you can walk about 2 miles and you'll be lucky now to find a break. But it's just constant one horrible chair after another, all slowly rotting away, looks dreadful, lost its meaning. The relatives are probably already dead anyway, so no one's benefiting. So that's just a little thing. I'm just a little moan today. They're just horrible, these things. I just wish people wouldn't bother, because honestly, I mean, do you think when I'm driving I'll see these things, it affects me? It doesn't. I just think, ugh. I don't know who you want them to. I mean, they even stick cards in and teddy bears. I mean, what's the point of that? What's the point of leaving a teddy? Why not just give it to charity? If you're going to buy a teddy bear, give it to a charity. I mean, save your money, folks. Give it to charity or something. I mean, I prefer it to go to an animal charity, but whatever charity you think. I always say go give it to a small charity, because usually the money goes further and they're usually more effective. Because quite honestly, these big ones, well, just goes to some director's pocket often, and then it's usually incompetently spent. Well, let's face it, some spend it on prostitutes and it's almost accepted, and these are the big name ones. So I mean, if I was standing out, I might do a little talk about that, my frustration about charities. But if you do give money, give it to one of the small ones, a nice little animal charity if you can, rather than just throwing the money at junk. Because quite honestly, you know, I think people just do it just to try and impress their friends. You know, they go, look, I bought flowers, just one up on the other, I spent £1 more than you or something. It's horrible. It's even in hospitals, it's depressing. Ugh. But anyway, my rant. If you think I'm wrong, well, you're wrong yourself, because I'm never wrong. There's nothing more disgusting than seeing a roadside these decomposing flowers that mean nothing to, honestly, anybody. And again, if we go back to this Richard case, quite honestly, you know, well, who cares? I don't understand why this family insists on putting these flowers out, except to simply intimidate all the locals, because who's impressed? You've given death threats to this poor family, which, you know, if you had some shame, you'd be going. I mean, I'm going to tell you this, if you know these people, this scummy family, they're not travellers, they're just thieves and criminals. And by the way, these flowers, I presume, have come from profit from crime. So if, by the sounds of it, this family have done nothing but commit crime, then by logic, everything they've got, the cars, the caravans, or whatever they live in, have all been produce of crime, which I thought was the police could take from you. You know, I'm afraid these flowers, I suspect, into the money, hard work as well. It might be hard work, as in you probably claim benefits. Anyway, that's just it. Over and out.